On today's The Wine Club, we speak to Charlie Bach, who is known as Joe Hinson's filmer, but we find out that he's more than that. This episode 9, I believe, is very unedited. It's one of the least edited podcasts so far, so let me know if it's on YouTube, let me know in the comment section whether it sounds good. And if you're on Spotify, Apple Music, or any of the other podcast sites, let me know what it sounds like. Get on Instagram at thewineclub.sbs. Please enjoy this episode with Charlie Bach talking about camera gear, NASS Festival, Joe Hinson, amongst a million of other things.
Who you guys working for?
Who is this?
It's SkateWine.
Oh, beautiful.
Did you say SkateWine?
Yes, sir.
Hello and welcome to the Wine Club. Episode 9, I believe, I hope. And today's guest, Charlie Bach. How do you pronounce your surname?
That was it. Bach.
Bach, is it actually?
German. Bach, yeah.
No mammies. I can't believe that. I'm so stoked.
You're one of the first who ever say it right, so.
I was waiting for you to give me so much stick for saying your name like incorrectly.
People say Bach, and Bach's fine.
I was just about to say that. How are you? How is today?
It's been a cold and snowy day in England in the middle of what's supposed to be the start of spring, but I've had a good day. Not been up to much. Didn't skate because covered in snow, but yeah.
Has it just snowed today?
Yeah, and it's planned to snow for days. And we're supposed to be going up to Nottingham. Me and Joe Hinson are supposed to be going to Nottingham tomorrow, but it might not happen now because the roads are covered in snow.
Skate
Should
trip.
be fun though.
Skate trip cancelled.
It's never the weekends.
I like
Never,
the way
I get my weekends off.
I like that you've already introduced Joe. So why am I interviewing you? Why are you here? Who are you?
I am Joe Hinson's filmer, and most people know me as that as well. Yeah, I met him like 4 years ago at the skate park, and just been filming him ever since, basically. So yeah, I've got some good anecdotes with Joe, some crazy street mission things that maybe we'll touch on. I don't think he mentioned them. I did watch his podcast a couple of weeks back, or when it came out. I don't remember what he said exactly, but yeah, we'll hopefully have some good stories.
Definitely. Have you always been a filmer, or was it something that you were pushed into by Joe Hinson?
Yeah, I've never filmed, and apparently I nailed it first try, and he was like, come back the next day or whenever it was, and that was that. Suddenly I became his filmer. It's good stuff. I just wanted to skate. I just enjoyed skating, and I was quite excited to go film someone jump down a massive handrail. So
Joe Hinson's skating is insane, but so is yours. When did you start skating? Are you around the same age as Joe then?
yeah, we're the same. We're like 2 months. He's like 2 months older than me.
No way.
So
And
we're like exactly the same.
and where were you brought up then with your skateboarding? When did you start skateboarding?
There's photos of me with a board as a kid, and so like I've been skating my whole life on and off. I never got good. I never like really stuck with it. I was like, I'd be like dropping in, and maybe I think I might have done rock to fakies. I like learnt to skate kind of near Brighton in a place called Burgess Hill, and from there, my memories aren't great. I just remember just doing drop-ins and stuff. I don't really remember a lot. So years and years passed, and then I got back into it when I was like 17, 18, like a lot of people do, and I just got really into it, and I've been doing it since then, basically. So like 7 years now, I've been properly skating.
So how old are you now?
I'm 26.
26. And Joe's 27? 26 as well.
26 as well.
You said 2 months.
Yeah. Yeah, we're like those 2 months when he's older than me. I call him old. I give him a proper razzing.
So you were brought up in around Burgess Hill then?
I've kind of bounced between where I live now, which is, well, I'm in Rushden now, but up around East Anglia, and down in Brighton because my dad's family are down there, my mum's family are up here. So we've just bounced between, basically. I was born up north and then moved down south and so on. But yeah, most of my memories have been up north. We only moved here like 10 years ago, maybe, or more now. So
Okay.
not a lot of memories down south.
So when did you first step on a skateboard then? How old were you?
That's a question for my parents because I don't remember.
When you were young.
They must have got me into. Very young, yeah. I must have been like 7, maybe older, maybe younger,
Do
somewhere
either
around there.
do either of your parents skateboard?
Yeah, I'll say yes because my dad
No.
was he's done it, and he can drop in and he used to do shove its and stuff. So yeah, he's a skater.
That's
But I got him on the
wicked.
board recently and he he took a pretty hefty slam off the board, and I think he keeps telling me he'll get back on it, but we'll see. But yeah, my dad skates. My mum's not a skater though, but she's always been into like skate music and skate culture, and yeah, like they're definite like skaters at heart, even if they don't ride the board.
What got you back into skateboarding when you were like 18 or 19? What brought you back into it?
I don't even remember. I probably just saw some videos, maybe even, Braille skateboarding videos or something, because that stuff was popping off back then. They might have popped up in my feed and I watched them and I went, I used to skate. I kind of want to skate again. And probably just got myself the board and started skating off that. I don't know. Like, yeah. I had a Nintendo DS or 3DS and I sold that and bought a skateboard with the money, and it's probably one of the best decisions I've made now, looking back.
That's amazing. Do you have any sponsors?
Yeah, I ride for Vitor clothing, and my mate designs amazing custom grip, and I ride for them as well, and that's pretty grippy. I've normally got loads, but like little things like this that are just really cool
Is that
to go
grip
on your
tape?
board and stuff. Yeah, that's grip, but
So
she'll do me whole sheets and she'll do me
if
all
anyone's
sorts.
listening on the podcast, Charlie's holding up a what looks like a pink, almost like a pink graffiti cloud, and that's the grip tape.
Mhm.
That's
But
awesome.
I've had like Hypno Toad from Futurama and like anime stuff and cartoon stuff. She just does such an amazing job. So shout out to her and shout out to Vittel because we're filming a video and I'm in the streets now. Joe's forcing me to jump down my own handrails
I've
and
seen that in some of the
probably
Instagram posts. You did that.
yeah, we're on it. We're on.
You did that 50-50 down what can only be described as the sketchiest, teethy ledge I have seen, and it had putty in it,
Oh yeah, yeah.
filler.
We had to bondo that and we used like a whole block of wax. That was so hard to skate. I was not enjoying that ledge at all. But after that we went to a spot I did enjoy and I got a clip on and hopefully that'll come out at some point.
I'm looking forward to it. Do
Yeah,
you
exciting.
prefer transition or street skating?
Street skating.
Street skating?
I cannot transition. I am awful at transition. Last time I did transition, I broke my collarbone, so I'm like scared of it now.
That's something when I was growing up skateboarding is people either took to transition or they took to street skateboarding, and you had natural. I mean, some people have a natural ability throughout skateboarding, but I progressed towards transition for two reasons. One, because I quite enjoyed it, and two, because if I skated street, I'd get D-lamps straight away, and I
Yep.
didn't come from a very affluent background, so I had to wait for my next board, which could have been months, could have been years. So transition, less board usage, which I think might be why street skating gets a far bigger push because you go through product a lot quicker.
Yeah, like I'm on Joe Flow because I film him. He'll sort me a board every now and again. If I wasn't, I couldn't jump down stairs and destroy a board every weekend. Or sometimes a board will last me a while, but as soon as I skate the street, I just destroy it like straight away. So I know what you mean.
Joe Flow, I love that. He did mention that in the podcast.
Yeah,
That he
yeah,
did make sure you've got to.
that's how he describes it.
I love that Joe was saying you've got to sort out your cameraman. I don't think that camera, like filmers in general, skateboarding filmers in general, get enough respect or like the time that goes into filming and editing. Do you edit as well? Do you edit the videos too?
I've edited some. I edited the Dark Star one that he put out, Britannia,
Wow,
and
nice.
I'm going to be doing the Vittel one, and I'm going to be trying to do little adverts here and there and stuff. But yeah, I haven't done a lot of editing. I've done a little bit.
Which program are you liking to use?
I've got Premiere Pro,
Premiere Pro, the
so I
monthly
use
subscription.
that. It is annoying, especially when I don't use it for a month. I'm like, oh, goodness. But yeah, it's super. It's just the one I started using, and now I'm kind of hooked on it because I have a P2 camera, and it's the only thing that reads those clips as well that I've heard. So I need to get a P2 reader, or I need to use Premiere Pro, basically.
You need to look at DaVinci Resolve. I use DaVinci Resolve, and it's amazing. With filming Joe, did you film before filming Joe? Have you got a camera set up or editing knowledge before that?
No, Nothing. Never done anything like this before. So it was
No
like my foot in
way.
the door. Yeah, and I wish I had that. Like, you hear about people who've been making their home videos for years and stuff, and that's their passion and stuff. But this kind of fell into my lap, and it's more through passion of skating than passion of filming. You know what I mean? That I enjoy it personally. But there's a joy in when he lands it and I filmed it good. I feel like I've landed it too. Do you know what I mean?
I know that feeling so, so well. And the worst feeling is when you miss a good trick. You've zoomed in
Oh
too
my
quickly
God.
or you've cropped the bottom off.
Joe could have some stories. He's had to redo tricks two, three. There's one trick he had to redo 4 times because I was so close to him and I just could not get it right. This was in the early days. Nowadays, I'm like a robot. My hands just do it. I don't even have to think now. But in the early days, I was definitely overthinking everything. My foot had to be in the same place. The frame of the bottom lined up perfectly with that piece of dirt on the stairs. I really took it seriously to try and not to screw it up because you do not want to piss Joe off as well.
What camera are you using then for filming Joe?
I've got a P2 HPX 170, I think. It's one you see all the time. And that's what I use for the long lens now, because I bought that about a year and a bit ago. But for the fisheye, we use Joe's DSLR. I think it's a Nikon something. I'm not 100%, but that does the job. I've just got a fisheye for my camera, but it's a little bit, you wouldn't want to change fisheyes halfway through filming. So
Is that for the
like,
P2?
yeah, I've got a
Like a depth lens?
not a Century Extreme, just one of the cheaper. Yeah, I think it's a Realm lens,
Okay.
which it seems pretty good.
And what makes the P2? I'm terrible. I love my DSLR cameras, but I don't know anything about actual camcorders.
My knowledge is very slim. I'm supposedly a professional filmer, but as far as the cameras go, I'm not 100%. But it's a Panasonic
Panasonic.
HPX 170, the one I so yeah,
Yeah,
one of the
nice.
not one of the one.
Yeah, because I'm on
Does the
Panasonic.
job. It's good.
The podcast I'm filming on at the moment is the Panasonic S5. I've got the GH5 back at home, and I'm hoping to upgrade one day to the S5 too because they've just enabled. They've got like this new autofocus system, phase detect auto system. There we go. With filming Joe, then what's been your best or most memorable filming experience with Joe? Were you there? Sorry to I'm double questioning. Were you there for the champion skateboarding companion huge front page 50/50 rail?
Yeah, I was there. I filmed it, and we actually went back to get the photo with
Way.
the with the magazine's head photographer. I think he is. I can't remember his name, so hopefully he doesn't watch this. But when I was there the first time, we took the photo just as a we're here, let's take a photo. So I got basically exactly the same picture as the cover on Joe's camera. It looked exactly the same. And we sent that to the mag, and the mag were like, your lens isn't good enough. It's too low quality, which was such a shame because I would have had that cover. Imagine me just with a random cover. That would have felt really good. But another day he came down and we went the second time. Joe almost landed it like in a few tries. Just one of the first tries, he got on it and he ground it all the way to the bottom, and it was insane. Um, but yeah, I was there. I was there both days for the photo and for the video, which was amazing. That
And
was like definitely an impressive rail. But to go to your first question, and there's so many moments, but one that always stands out for me is this moment in Brighton, and the clip's not out yet, so I can't say what happened. But there's just a huge crowd, and I did not think it was going to happen, and then suddenly it just went down, and everyone lost their minds, and it was for some reason that one stuck with me, and I can't
that,
wait for that footage to come out.
that was the best experience with Joe.
It was a good experience. There's also been so just like getting to go places like the UK Championships and on these trips with him. There's so many good memories. The kind of things you'll have, forever.
Have you managed to get any media passes for anything?
Don't think so. No, I'm just +1 at NASS. I think I met you there. That might have been the first time I met you. So I get to be his +1 if he takes me. And normally I get in with him, but no media pass yet. Don't know
I've
how to
just
wangle one of them. I need some advice, Rob.
you just blag it. You send emails and say you're amazing, and then they ask for a PDF presentation, and then you send them a PDF presentation with all your CV nonsense in it. Like you'd now have that insane video of Joe doing that rail, and it got on the front of Skateboard Companion.
That's good actually. Yeah, that's good for the portfolio, that one.
And the Dark Star video. That's insane.
Yeah, stoked on that.
I've just
Stoked to edit that.
I've just looked it up. It's Leo Sharp. I wonder whether it might have been Ryan Gray, but it's Leo Sharp that was
Yes,
there.
Leo. Yeah, yeah. I should have known that. Lovely guy. He's really, really nice guy to be around for the day because we went and tried to get some other photos and I was filming obviously. Yeah, Leo Sharp. Yeah, he's sick dude.
Did he take any photos of you?
I don't think he did actually. No, but sometimes we'll be out. I got a photo Saturday with one of my favorite people we go out with, Tom Quigley. Shout out to Tom because anytime he's on the mission, I have a lot better time because I got someone to help make fun of Joe with me, you know. It's not just Joe making fun of me. Suddenly I got backup, you know. Joe's anyone that knows Joe knows what he's like.
Yes, definitely. He's a madman. What's been your favourite spot to film at?
Favorite spot? I've probably filmed the most at this famous rail in Milton Keynes. There's this like 9 stair or 8 stair. It's undercover, and it's like a legendary spot in Milton Keynes. I filmed Joe do like 3 or 4 tricks there. I like Nottingham a lot because Nottingham's got loads of good spots. Yeah, I don't really have a favorite place I filmed. It's more like favorite missions that we've gone on. Like we went on a London mission, and that was a really good time. I really enjoyed that mission. Just the whole crew out with Vitor. I wasn't riding for them at the time. I was just filming. I ended up getting a clip or two of my own though, and getting a photo as well, which it's a really cool photo actually. And I wish it had been used for something. I was saying just shout out to Matt Law who runs Vitor, and it's an amazing photographer as well.
Wicked. Going back to your point about NASS, was that your first NASS festival?
Yeah. I've been to a lot of festivals, but that was my first NASS festival.
What was your experience? How did you feel? What was the
skating was awesome. Not my kind of festival for that kind of festival vibe, but a very unique experience. I had a good time for sure. I'm looking forward to this year.
I love that's the most polite way to describe NASS, I think.
Yeah, I mean, to anyone that doesn't skate, don't go for the music, don't go for the crowds.
I love drum and
Skating
bass.
it's not so much the music, the people. It's definitely for the younger crowds. I think I'm a little bit past my prime, I should say,
I
for
had
that kind of music.
I had Janine over from Mexico, and she was helping me actually. She was my filmer basically for that weekend. Basically, I did a Joe with you, but I got Janine, and we were in VIP camping, and we ended up next to a tent. Well, 2 tents separate. One tent had a couple that were just arguing the whole weekend, and they were just gonna. Honestly, it was the most toxic relationship I've ever had to listen to all night, saying they're gonna murder each other. And then on the first night, which I think was the Thursday, there was some guy that had like K-holed, like they'd all obviously on cat, and they spent like 2 hours just every 5 minutes like, Joe, I don't think his name's Joe actually, let's make it a different name, but George, are you all right, mate? George, he's just K-holing, George. And I was just like, this is the UK, basically, this is the UK.
Yeah. Oh,
Do you,
my goodness.
do you have any good memories
Yeah.
from NASS? What was your favourite thing about NASS?
Meeting loads of the American pros like Evan Smith. I sat down and me and Joe were just sat with Evan Smith, and I was talking to him about his band from years ago. He did some music under Moth Prism that I got really into, so I was talking to him about that and just watching him skate a bit as well and stuff. Like Evan Smith was there. Tishod Johnson, who's an awesome guy. Really enjoyed meeting him. And the French Adrian Boulard, I think his name is. He was a character. I'll put it like that. He was an interesting guy. So yeah, just getting to meet them and watch them live was just awesome, And watching Joe as well. Like Joe killed it at NASS that year, and I'm trying to like help him out a bit, like coach a little bit, even though I don't know what I'm doing really. I mean, I know a bit about comps, but NASS, it was just such a cool experience. Like lots of people to meet. Yeah, I met you. I met Rob, of course. That was the highlight. Sorry, that should have been my first answer.
My first
Yeah, it was
interview
great.
with you.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I was more nervous for that than like when I'm dropping in for my runs at the UK champs or anything. I was like, oh my God.
Being in front of the camera instead of behind.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not something I'm used to. But like Joe's always there, like, yeah, be mean to him. Be really mean to him. I'm like, I don't know how to be mean to someone. I'm just trying my best, you know.
I have to say the funniest and most annoying thing about what I've done with SkateWine is that like people like Joe who I know will give me stick and I know them and I'm like, oh, they're just joking. But like you'll get every now and again, especially like at NASS Festival, you'll get someone that you don't know that might have watched one of your videos and they think they can just be nasty to you. And you just like, what? Why are you saying these horrible things? It's obviously I'm obviously producing this. I'm not just going to festivals and skate competitions and people are just being nasty to me.
Oh, that sounds lame. It's only literally Joe was just like, yeah, say this, say that, and I'm like, I don't want to be mean.
I, in actual
Yeah.
fact, I believe actually no, I think it was the NAS before COVID. I had a mullet and a mustache, and I was walking back to the tent, and I walked past this guy, and he was like, "Oh, look at that guy!" There's a group of like teenagers, late teenagers, probably early 20s, all around like not a campfire, but in the circle around the tent. It's like, look at that guy! He looks like he fucks his sister, and they were like, ah, like well funny. So I shouted back, "Yeah, well at least I fucked my sister more times than you've ever fucked anyone." And he was just like totally not expecting me to have a comeback. And I felt so bad because all of his mates were laughing. All of his mates were laughing. And then I like kind of waved at him and he lifted up his arm and he didn't have an arm. And I was like, oh, now I feel really like I know he's giving me shit, but I suddenly
Joe's
felt
told me.
so bad. Like I was like, oh, no mammies.
I love how Joe's already told me that story about himself. That's amazing.
I tell everyone it's funny how much NASS has come up in these podcasts, and I think that festival is so important for skateboarding for the reasons that you mentioned with the pros coming over. And I don't know whether you've noticed, but the intro and outro to my podcast is actually taken from last year's festival with what were they both their names? Something Evans. I should know. Evan Smith.
Evan Smith.
Evan Smith and was it
Oh,
Ryan?
and Wes.
Wes Kramer.
Are you talking? Yeah,
So it's actually
I
those
think that's
two.
his name.
One day they'll be like, we don't want you. We don't want to be part of your intro or outro. But at the moment, they are my intro and outro as I go over and interview them.
I remember that now, actually. Yeah, because I'm not much of a podcast listener, but I'm trying to listen to. I've only seen Joe's one, but I'm excited to listen to Ben Grove, and and the others obviously. Like I saw Ben Grove pop up and recently learned about him. I was like, oh, I'm excited to listen to that one.
Lots of good feedback on the Ben Grove one. Actually, I love having feedback and hearing what people think about how the interview style is. And I mean, it's not easy to do podcasts. In actual fact, this is the first podcast I've done with someone who's got a professional mic. And I had a question of why do you have a professional mic? Are you a musician as well?
Yes, back in the day, I definitely tried my hand at production and music properly. But now, yeah, I just play guitar. I have the mic from back in those days when I used to make music, and now I've got the mic. I play a lot of guitar and stuff, and sometimes I'll record myself. But yeah, it must be nice to have a good mic for a podcast because I don't know what Joe was using, probably his phone, and it's just it sounded fine, sounded good, but most people don't have professional mics and stuff. I was like wondering if I could set my camera up somehow to be a webcam, but I didn't get that far ahead.
I set mine up to be the production camera. So what you're seeing is my laptop, and what everyone else sees is the S5. And I can't tell you how much of a nightmare it was to learn about OBS, making sure that Panasonic Lumix is working as a webcam. Exactly what you've mentioned. So it's not as straightforward as people think. And OBS, now that I've got into it, I understand it, and it's a really good program, but it's really difficult to understand to begin with. It's got a bit of a learning curve to it. So
Yeah, I used it once. I don't remember anything. It's like 10 years ago, but I remember it being confusing for sure.
I've not actually asked this in any of the other podcasts, but what's your kind of music then? What's your favourite music? What do you listen to?
Pretty varied. And most people always say I listen to anything, and yeah, I do to an extent. But like when I'm chilling at home, I don't put on metal or hot drum and bass. I'll put on chill music. But when I'm on my way to the skate park, that's when I put on some like music to fit the mood, basically. Um, been listening to Greta Van Fleet, which is like a rock band. They sound a bit like Zeppelin at the moment. Just one I've gotten into recently. But I'll listen to anything. It's hard for someone to put on a song and I'm like, turn it off, you know?
I'm exactly the same. And I don't know why I've not ever brought up music before, because music, even art and skateboarding, they all kind of go together. And the same with Joe is a carpenter by trade, or he's a handyman by trade, and stuff like that. So he's in skateboarding, graphic design. I'm a graphic designer. What do you do as a profession?
Um, Odds and ends at the moment. I've just moved, so I'm like looking for new jobs. But in the past, I've worked with Joe. I've worked in shops. I've done all of that, and now I've obviously filming. I'm trying to tend to a bit of a job. I make money here or there off that, but not really. So yeah, nothing like concrete, nothing set in stone.
Well,
Just like odd jobs here and there for a while.
you've got the skill set now with Dark Star and the Skateboard Companion film. Well, he's got a Zero part coming out soon, right? So you must have some footage in that that's coming up soon.
I've I've filmed every clip. Basically. Actually he went to California and I wasn't there. So a lot of the Cali clips weren't me. But like for the most part, I film every clip. So, that's a lot of a lot of content, a lot of portfolio content. So yeah.
I bet he missed you. I bet he missed you out in California.
He was calling me every day.
Oh,
I was like, oh, finally, I got my weekends. I think I went traveling because I've got a converted van, so I'll go travel around when I've got the money for it. And but yeah, he was calling me on WhatsApp every day. Being like, oh yeah, this is what's happening. Every other day, I'd be like, yeah, cool, Joe, sit. It's good. It was cool to hear. I was always excited. He'd be like, going skating with Dane Berman and the Zero guys, and I'm just met Jamie Thomas and all this. I'm just like, damn, this is so cool. Like I was really enjoying hearing about it.
I do love Joe
The
Hinson for
highs.
that reason. He's one of the few people actually that I've managed to get on the podcast so far that keeps in good contact with me and lets me know what he's doing, which is really nice. Like when he was in America, he was telling me like, "Oh, I've done this rail, or I'm doing this, or don't show anyone this, but this might be in a future video." He's just
Yeah.
so much positive energy.
I describe him when I'm on the phone to him. I describe it like when you're trying to get your grandma off the phone, and you're like, "Yeah, okay, gotta go," and they're just like, "Oh yeah, oh, and this and this and this," and they keep it going, and like suddenly you realize you said you had to end it 20 minutes ago, and you're still on the phone. I've had calls end with Joe that have been on for 2 hours, and I'm like, "Oh my goodness, oh my goodness!" Like, how's it still going? But yeah, I mean, can't get him off the phone, but he's a chatty one, and I think I'm a good listener, so it's all right.
But so you've mentioned a couple of times that there's some stories that Joe has left out, and I would absolutely love to give you this opportunity to remember any stories that you would like to bring into the equation that we didn't manage to hear in the Joe Hinson podcast.
There's just like little things that happen out in the streets. Like one time we were filming and there was a house party going on and there was beef at the house. Some guy got kicked out and he came back and he literally had a sword and a long dagger in his hand. And he's like swinging the sword over the fence and this guy came out and me and Joe were like, right, we've got the clip, it's time to go kind of thing.
Did you
And
film
we were
it?
just like, we on my phone I got a little clip and you see it a bit, but you can't really see it because we'd already packed up. We'd finished, we'd packed up, my camera was
Right.
away. And I was like, this would have been such good filler, proper English filler like you see in Get Lester vids and stuff. But
I was just
couldn't get
about
it.
to say that I always say that to Yanine is the amount of aggro that you get to see in the UK compared to here is insane. It just blows my mind how aggressive people can be in the UK. Like when I came back from Mexico, like this time last year, I went to a bar and I went to the toilet and I was having a shit. And someone didn't like the fact that I was farting. And whilst they were in the urinal, their mate was telling them a story, like full blown story. And whilst their mate was having a story to his other mate, his mate interrupted him and was like, "Oh no, that's not right." And his mate was like, "What?" He's like, "That's not right, that." "What's not right?" "Oh, that sound is disgusting." I just remember sitting on the toilet like, I've been in the UK for one day, and this guy is trying to start on me for having a shit in a toilet. Like, unbelievable. And the funniest thing is, the guy started like continued the conversation like his mate hadn't said anything. And then when they like, I don't even know if they washed their hands, but when they walked past the cubicle door, he was like, "Ah, it's disgusting that." It's just like, dude, seriously, you're in a urinal. Like, what were you expecting?
Some people just hate the world, don't they? England's full of colourful characters, and the streets, you get a lot of people, lovely people that I love it, and horrible people who hate it. It's just part of being in the streets, I think.
I always
Luckily, I've
blamed
just got
it.
the camera, so it's nice and
You've got to make sure you get those clips. I just think it's the lack of vitamin D. I genuinely think that there's not enough vitamin D, so people get more aggressive. With regards to
yeah,
seeing
probably.
stuff in the streets and that story, have you ever been in trouble with security or the police?
No, we just get kicked out. It's never trouble. Like we've actually never had the police. It's normally just, caretakers or security. They just say no more, and we're polite for the most part. We're not like 16-year-olds trying to cause trouble. Like if we're getting kicked out, we're getting kicked out, and we're just gonna move on
Exactly.
and come back another day. So
Joe's
not
very
really,
respectful.
never. If a security guard comes up and it's really aggressive and stuff, Joe will give it back a little bit, just like why are you being like that kind of thing. But there's never been any trouble, and I've been filming Joe for 3 years, and we've never had any like big trouble happen. So
So where do you and Joe usually skate then? Do you usually just skate the streets or do you skate any skate parks locally?
Cambridge is where we used to skate all the time. So like Trumpington Skate Park is this lovely one that got built like maybe a year or two ago.
Yes, Joe
It's a
mentioned
really
that
good
one.
park, really good park, and so we go there most of the time. But there's lots of little parks in England, and I think it's the same in where you're from in like Devon. I think you're from Devon, aren't you? Like
Yes,
down
yeah.
there, it's loads of little parks, lots of tiny parks spread around in all the villages rather than these big pub parks, like the one in Watford, Oxley Park, that's recently been built, that's massive and has everything. I would love more of them, but instead we end up with all these little ones. So you have a lot to choose from, and they're not none of them have everything. So we'll kind of go all over the near area, and then on the weekend we go streets. So we get to skate parks in cities like Birmingham, Nottingham, Coventry, all around East Anglia. So not nowhere specific, but Trumpington's like the base of operations for me and Joe. Joe loves that park 'cause it's got big rails and stuff, so it
The training
makes
ground.
sense. Yeah,
Have you
exactly. I was just saying I skate that stuff as well, so for me it's good fun as well. Like I'm terrible at skating ledges and stuff, so give me some stairs to jump down.
what's your favourite trick?
Favorite trick to like for how it feels to do, or just in general how it looks?
Both. Let's go
Everything.
both. Yeah, let's go both.
I mean, I love a pop shove. I would send that down anything.
No
It would
way.
feel good to me. I lost them recently, so now it's probably heel flip. I'm a massive heel flipper. Um, but I wish I could do like big heel, just a really nice big heel. Mike Burtis he's an amazing American pro. He had this apart for Darkston, does this amazing nollie big heel. I think it's nollie or fakie. It just looks so good. I'd love to be able to do that trick.
The pop shove it. I learned it's one of those tricks that you learn and then you're like, oh, I've done the pop shove it. Now I'm going to go on to the kick flip or switch flip or heel flip or whatever. And I've always had a dislike for pop shove-its, nollie pop shove-its, pop shove-its, front slide pop shove-its. I've liked because I always have struggled with them, but I'm really ashamed because I really like the guy. But there's a guy in Taunton that does the sickest pop shove-its, and I was like, I need to relearn them. And actually, they're so hard because I haven't done them for so long. They're so difficult because you're not doing it.
To proper pop them high, to proper get them up there. But I was only thinking of flat ground when I said that. To be fair, my favorite trick's back lip and front board. Nothing feels better than that. But yeah, flat ground. I love pop shove it's. I'll pop shove it. I used to pop shove it down like any drop because it would come to my feet and I'd catch it nice and high, and it was just that trick that was comfortable. I'd pop shove onto like round rails and stuff. I was round down rails, just like pop shove onto it and lock in and be happy. I've lost them recently, so I'm not such a fan of them at the moment. But yeah, like I love rails. Like nothing feels better than a front board. A front board is like just the best feeling. You're like on it. You're twisted round. It feels so good.
Yeah, the pop shove it, catching a pop shove it and not doing a horrible floppy one, they are the best. And a front board slide, I used to love them. I started off loving them when I first started skating. Went through it, and then snowboarding got me back into front board slides. Like snowboard front board slides look amazing. Like anything where you're like looking the wrong way down something, even a blunt, like a
I'd
front
love.
blunt.
Yeah, I've only just learnt front blunt. I wouldn't say it feels good, but it's a cool trick. It's a cool looking trick. It feels at the moment really hard to do for me, but it's a really cool trick. Backtails are a lot more comfortable than front blunt for me.
Did Joe teach you that one? Because he does them all. He just flick blunts, doesn't he?
Yeah, he taught me front blunt. Um, when Joe teaches, he basically just says do it, and you just do it. But yeah, he gives me pointers when he can. Sometimes I'll be like, oh, how do I do this trick? He's like, I don't know, I don't do it. I'm like, okay, sick. Cheers.
Yeah, have you been to the what? I just smacked my mouth with the water bottle and now it's bleeding. So that's a classic schoolboy error. Did you go to the Watford skate park? Have you been to that one? I haven't been there yet.
It is great. It's got a bit of everything. It's like Street Plaza, and yeah, I went once with Joe and I filmed him, then got injured and barely skated it. And but on the way to pick him up from Cali last year, I stopped on the way and got a good skate in there, and yeah, it's super fun. There's a lot to do there. Bit of transition off a street. I think it's like a £3 million massive park on the west side of London.
I
So
could.
most have heard of it, I think. So yeah, it's just such a good park. Definitely worth the trip.
I couldn't agree with you more on your point about it's something I've complained about from the beginning of skateboarding, my skateboarding, is the amount of little parks, especially in Devon, that aren't even in Bideford. I love Bideford's park, and what Torres District Council did was really good, and we got a professional builder in. Canvas did
Oh,
a
I was
good.
gonna say, did Bideford ever get its skate park renovation? Because I remember your video 6 years ago. I remember watching that.
Yes. Oh, nice one. Yeah. So off the back of that, one of the council workers or a youth worker became the manager of a committee group, which I was a part of. And the skate park is really great. I love it, but it's all so small. Like it's all small obstacles. Really good actually, because I've never been a street skater or a rail skater. Since they built that park, my rail abilities has gone through the roof. There's that skate park in Victoria. Is it Victoria Skate Park in London, which is huge? You've got Bath, which is quite big. And I can totally understand why you have little parks. I understand why councils can't get together. And a skate park like Bideford is perfect because it's really good for learning. And then if anyone takes skateboarding to the next level, they can go to places like Mount Hawke or Bath or Bristol, where the bigger parks are. But I can't agree with you more on that point.
I mean, it is good that you got the little ones because kids can go to the local park. So in a way, it makes more sense. But once you get into skating properly, you just want a big park where there's a huge community. So, but I mean, I when I was traveling and I've been to Boardmasters Festival, so I traveled down through Devon and skated a few parks that way. And I remember them being like anywhere, just you've got these amazing ones and then you've got these terrible ones, and you don't really know till you're skating it. Because a lot of new ones have popped up, so there's all this new concrete. Some of them are made really nice, some of them are made really strange. And then you'll be looking and there'll be all these prefab metal old school parks, like in your video, where it's like falling apart and it's rusty and it's corroded, and you're like, all right, I'm not going there, not gonna be able to skate that.
You've done more research on me than I have on you in this interview. It's the wrong way round.
Maybe I have some interview experience of my own.
Nice.
I've done them and they are hard. They are hard work. So props to you for doing these podcasts. They're really good. I really
Thank,
enjoyed the one I watched. I can't wait to watch more.
thank you very much. With you saying about travel, it's actually going to be my next question that I've written down. You said about going to Boardmasters. Have you been anywhere abroad traveling on yourself for skateboarding or with Joe filming?
Not with Joe yet. He wants me to come Cali.
Oh, that's a list. That's on
Uh,
the list now, isn't it?
I would love to go. It's just if I can. I haven't traveled skateboarding, but I went to Lisbon because I stayed with a friend in Lisbon and I skated when I was there. This is before I met Joe, though. I wasn't very good at skate. I was like doing 50/50s and the odd flip trick, and that was about it, kind of thing. Nothing like nowadays when I kind of feel like I can flow around a park and really feel comfortable there. So yeah, not really skate, not really. I've been on a few family holidays and I've been on the odd holiday on my own, but otherwise, I'd love to do more skate trips. I'd love to do like a Europe trip or a California trip with Joe. Like it's just not really a lot of money to be thrown around in skateboarding. Like they can't really pay to fly people out and all of that. So it is
That
the way it is. I'm
that
hoping
was
someday.
that was something that Amy brought up in the previous podcast, is about the fact that she's so lucky to have had the ability to go traveling with skateboarding, and now that she's Route One TM, they've just been to Laos, and like you were saying, there's not enough money. And well, I hope now with it being in the Olympics, there will be a little bit more of an injection for good skaters to get around with their filmers like Joe and yourself, and see different parts of the world and skateboard. Because I've done so much traveling, and you learn so much with traveling and seeing different skate parks, seeing different people, meeting different skaters from different cultures. So I hope that with the Olympics, there's more opportunities for that. What's your take on the Olympics? I think that with regards to skate parks, it's been a really positive thing, because we're hopefully now not going to have prefab metal ramps like I started on, which I'm still grateful for.
Yeah.
What do you think
I'm
about the
being
Olympics?
I love, I think it's awesome. I think it's good. If it's gonna bring people into skateboarding and it's gonna bring money into skateboarding to build more parks and stuff, then awesome. Like, I'm not thinking like grassroots. No, it's got to be cool. It's got to be underground because I love it and it's been there for me through, the ups and downs of my young adult life, and I want other people to have if they want to, I want them to have that experience as well, where they can get into something that they love as much as I love skating. So anything that spreads it, the Olympics is awesome. I'll be watching. I love watching the comps. I watch Tampa Pro that's just gone. I love watching a good comp and it inspires me a lot. So
Tampa Pro, what a thing to bring up. I have seen a number of clips from that. Did you see most of it? Did you see the competition? Was it live streamed or something?
I watched. Yeah, it was on YouTube. I watched all of the qualifying and the semis and the final. I can't get enough of that kind of stuff. It's so good. It's all gone from my memory now, but it was so good when I was watching it.
What's Can you remember any of your favourite skaters or tricks that were had? Because I've seen some insane stuff that went down that weekend.
There was a moment when I like literally sat up and was like, "What?" I think it was when Chris Jocelyn landed his round because I love Chris Jocelyn. But there's a skater I love called probably butcher the pronunciation. I think it's Kairi Netsuke, Japanese skater. He rides for zero, and he does like heel flip front board, heel flip back tail. He like heel flips into stuff, and I heel flip into front boards and stuff, and I love seeing it because it's like the trick I'm trying to get good at. So I'm just inspired when I see him skating. He's got such a cool style as well.
I can't explain how much respect I have for people who can do heel flips now, because when I started skating 15 or 20 years ago, whatever it was, 20 years ago, the heel flip was like the varial flip now. People hated the heel flip for absolutely no reason. And
I
back
didn't know.
then, dare I say, I was into a little bit of peer pressure. I just learnt to kick flip, and I just stayed well clear of heel flips. The only heel flips I could do were nollie heel flips, but heel flips I stayed away from. And now heel flips are like in with skateboarding. I go to a skate park and I'm just like, I can do them, but they look awful. It's like my pop shove it. It's like, you need to be able to, your heel flip is amazing. Pop, flip, catch it. There was that Osiris skater with the dreads who does the best heel
Osiris.
flips.
He's got such a good style. I love watching Osiris skate, and I've been filming with him, and I've filmed him as well. And he's got talent, that kid. I'm trying to like
Oh.
get him out on missions with me, and because he's in MK, he's in Milton Keynes. So recently, I like hit up Tommy Coolbridge, if you know that you know Tommy, and
Yes.
went down and me and Tommy went and had a little filming day. So yeah, I'm hoping to get some more clips of Osiris because he just makes everything he does look so good. And he's the nicest guy ever as well. Like literally such a nice guy. I love him.
This is the funniest skate miscommunication I think I've ever had with anyone. But there was a skater back in the like late 2000s, I think it was, probably 2006, 2007,
Oh,
and he was a skater for the shoe company Osiris.
amazing. This guy's called Osiris and he gets Osiris shoes as well. So it's like, oh my God.
I did not know this, and he has the best heel flips.
He's got great heel flips, great kick flips. He's got dreads and he's yeah, his name's Osiris and he rides Osiris. So
And maybe Osiris only sponsor people who can do really good heel flips. Now I'm thinking.
I Osiris, send me some shoes, please. I'm desperate.
Does he
Shoes
still?
is the one thing I do not.
Yo tambien. Yeah, same. Does he ride the D3s? Has he had any D3s through the moon boots?
I don't know, but they're big. They're big shoes, and I'm like, not my style. I like cup soles, but they're not my style. The Osiris, they're a little bit much. But I'll wear anything. Give it to me. I'll ride it. I don't care. You know.
I
Give me
love
some
that you just
shoes.
like send me some shoes, but I don't like big shoes.
Send me some shoes. I hate them, but I'll ride them. That's what I'm-
With that in mind, who's been your inspiration through your skateboarding? What's been your favourite skater when you got back into it when you're 18 and 19?
All good questions, and very hard questions, I think, because it's always changing. It's like when someone asks you what your favorite song is. It's like, what, what time of the year do you want to ask me? You know, I can rattle off a few names there that have been influential. Like I'm a massive Chris Jocelyn fan because I love how he makes stuff look, and so he was one of the guys I loved when I got back into skating at 18. Um, then I went through. I ended up loving Milton Martinez when he dropped his demolition part. That's all I watched. I just watched that on loop because I just thought it was so gnarly and so sick. Meeting Joe, and then I got into Jamie Foy with Joe. And then as time's gone on, Joe's shown me loads of videos and like the English scene. So like Get Lester and cover version Blips, cover vision. I can't remember what it's called, and stuff like that. Blueprint. And over that time, I've ended up developing a love for British skateboarding as well. And
Yes.
especially as I get to meet a lot of these guys as well, like, because we'll be out there and I'll end up meeting James Bush, who's in Get Lester, who's amazing and a really lovely guy. Um, and like Chris File is like one of my favorite interactions I've had because he's just super nice guy. And I snapped my board at the UK Champs doing it just on a flat bar. I think by the end of the day, he was like, "Oh, you snapped your board earlier, didn't you, or whatever?" And he just gave me his board, and I was like, "Yo, are you sure? Like, Joe, I'm sure Joe can sort me a board." He was like, "Mate, I want you to have it," and he just gave me the board, and I was just, it meant so much to me at that moment just to have a board off a pro who, I think he's pro that I love, like
He is,
Chris
definitely.
File, one of my, so he's
I
up there for sure.
I remember Chris File when he was on Rad, back when I was a Grom. Christian Stevenson used to do this program on Channel 5 when there was only 5 channels. Oh, show my age. And Chris File was on Rad. And I remember when I first met Chris File, and it was down in Boardmasters. And yeah, absolutely, really nice guy, but gnarly as well. I guess all street skaters generally are pretty gnarly personalities.
Chris Farley is something else. Like such an amazing. When you go to the spots, like I go to all these spots with Joe. And when you go to the spots, it just whole new perspective. Um, what's his name? The real Harry Lintel went to one of the spots that's his ender. He does a tray flip into this bank. You go stand up there and you wouldn't even jump into you don't even look at it. It's not a spot. It's not a spot at all. And he tray flipped into it and it's just insane. Like, but until you're there, you don't really I'm not very good
Appreciate.
at seeing how big and how gnarly a spot is unless I'm stood at the top of that rail looking at it, imagining jumping on it. And as soon as you're up there, it's like a completely different ball game. It's like how does anyone board slide this, let alone what Joe does when he like flip back lips something. You're just like, how, you know?
I
It's a bit of skate.
I went to that. You remember Van's Propeller, that film? And there's Kyle Walker. Kyle Walker does this huge 50-50 down this green rail. And I
I
went to
think, yeah,
America, and I was with Lizzie Armento's Clang name clanger. But I was with Lizzie Armento's mum. She took me to the rail because I wanted to see it. It's at this high school near Santa Monica. I think it's about an hour away. And poor Lizzie's mum had to drive me all the way to this rail, and I just had to look at it because it's so big. They've skate stopped it now, but it's so big. And seeing it in real life, I mean, seeing it in Van's Propeller is amazing, but seeing it in real life, I wouldn't have even done one of the handrails going down the sixth stair, and it's just like
yeah, exactly.
completely new
And
perspective.
like, if it looks big on the footage, it's absolutely massive. Like it's ginormous, especially English spots. Like English spots look smaller. I don't know what it is. They just look smaller. The stairs are too big, and it just so hard. Like most of my job as a filmer is trying to make stuff look big, trying to make stuff look bigger than it is. Because we go to a spot in England and it's massive, it's crusty, it's straight into the floor, it's like a nipple high rail, you've got to get on it right in the and we get there and I film it and I'm like, damn, that was so gnarly. And you look at the footage, you're like, why does it look so small? Like you just want to bring everyone that sees the video and be like, look at this rail. This is insane. But you just can't make it look good sometimes, and it's so annoying as a filmer when you
Have you
can't give props to the skater.
have you been to America?
Not as a skater, no. Like as a kid, I've been. That's it.
Because that's what Joe said, and that's what a number of people have said, is how crusty the UK is. The crusty spots. And I think going back to your point about Get Leicester, you've got Baghead crew, you've got a number of different crews, you've got crews up in Scotland, Wales, and they're all gnarly. And I almost feel like the British scene, unless they go to America, is so underrated. Like Div went to America and made a name for himself, and Stu Graham. I don't know why I'm suddenly naming Scottish skaters, because Ben Ramers did it as well. But like, I just feel like there's such an underrated class of skateboarding in the UK. Although, having said that, I think the Baghead videos and even the Get Leicester videos have appeared on Thrasher. But like you say, people will watch it and they'll be like, oh, that's Nigel's doing a 20 stair. And Joe's only doing a 16 stair. And it's like, yeah, but the concrete and the rail that he's skating is almost perfect for skateboarding. But this 16 stair...
Yeah, it's like a skate park. So says Joe. He says it's like, it's like a skate park rail. And I mean, I was skating a 7 stair, just a little 7 stair, on Sunday, and the ground tore me to shreds, kind of thing. Like you fall once and your hand's torn open and you're bleeding, and that's just English spots. Like the run up's crusty, the landing's crusty. It's probably, I think it's like East Coast or in Europe, like there's always these crusty ass spots, and I think California is just so smooth. I'd love to go to Cali, skate these like big looking spots that are actually like quite low rails and stuff, because I get Joe takes me to the rail, like, here's a good rail, you could skate this, and I'm looking and I'm like, I don't want to skate this. I don't want to jump on this. He'll just jump on it first try. I'm like, oh my god, now I've got to try. I'm dreading it.
Do you have any more stories that we've missed out from now and from the podcast that Joe's done? Just in case I missed anything out, I want to make sure.
Filming in sketchy spots and someone shouting out the window, or but nothing comes to mind right away. But there's just all these little moments, these like little crazy moments that and NASS Festival was had some wild moments in it, because I was camping with Joe and everyone in there. So like they got a wheelie bin, they filled it with ice and water, and they were just taking turns ice bathing in it. Some of the athletes, I was like, Christ, just woken up. Last thing I want to do.
Jump in a pool of ice.
Literally a fucking wheelie bin. They just like stood in it like that. I was like, I'm not having to go.
Final couple of questions. What's your favourite thing? Oh, wait, we'll go with negative first. What's the worst thing with filming with Joe?
I don't know about with Joe in particular. I won't call him out too hard. But filming in general is hard. Like,
yes.
Like I think I really crouch into weird positions, and I'll find I've been there for 2 hours, and like you hurt muscles you didn't know you had, kind of thing. Filming, I've got like back. I'm sure my back is going to be damaged when I'm older. Or when you're like filming lines, and when you film skateboarding, you kind of stand on one leg and you use the other leg to constantly be stopping or pushing, or so you're never like stood comfortably on the board, and that really works the muscles. So Joe's always like, oh, I'll trade, I'll push the button. It can't be that hard filming and all of this. And then when we've been switching roles recently, and he's like, my arms are getting tired. I'm bored. How do you sit here and do this? And I'm like jumping down the stairs or whatever, having, in my opinion, more fun than filming. Like filming destroys me. Like I feel pretty messed up after 3 hours of filming.
It's tiring.
Props to the filmers out there, especially like the ones that film tech skating, where it takes, days even to land a trick. Like that is commitment. Like you got to be dedicated to be a filmer, and you don't get much of the glory as well. Like, so you've got to really, I love seeing Joe succeed. Like I love seeing him get on zero. That was massive. That made me really happy. So I get to kind of like share in his achievements to an extent, if you know what I mean. Not in like a stealing them way, but in like we're a kind of a team and we get to work together. But it's just hard. Like it's hard. We'll go out Saturday morning, we'll get home Saturday 8, 9, 10 p.m. and I've been out for 14 hours filming, it's a long day. So you got to be prepared.
He definitely shared that it's a team effort and that he was sharing like sponsor stuff that was coming and product with you to make sure that you were sorted out, which is really nice. And I'm not sure every skater does that with their filmers.
I'm very lucky. He sorts me out. He does what he can, but at the end of the day, skaters don't get, they don't get enough. They don't get paid enough to do what they're doing. And I'm not stealing anything from Joe. He's putting in so much of the work. He's killing himself. He's driving to the spots. I've never met a human being that dedicated in my life. Can't believe it. I just want to have a lion sometimes, and he's just on it, on it, on it. So props to Joe. He's killing it, and he needs more people backing him because I've never met a guy that puts so much in and gets so little out. But hopefully that's changing now.
He's on Skateboard GV now, so that's a pretty major achievement as a skateboarder. I feel now in 2023. What's the best thing that you found with filming skateboarding with Joe and in general? I keep double firing these questions.
You mentioned it earlier when you said traveling, like I think as in going to other countries and cultures and stuff. But for me, even just traveling in England and seeing all of these cities and meeting all of these people is its own reward. It'd be amazing if we were going to other countries as well, but just getting to go places I never would have gone and to film skating or to be a part of skating in a way I never would have been. I was just skating for fun, and then when I met Joe, and I'm still only skating for fun, but suddenly I'm like in this world. I never would have skated these comps. I never would have I wouldn't be being interviewed right now for a podcast. It's just taken me places. It's taken me places I never would have imagined filming. So like, yeah, that's probably my favorite thing. It's just the experiences I've had. And if I go to Cali and I'll be in the warehouse with Jamie Thomas potentially and stuff, the things like that you'd never expect, that it's just crazy if it happens. And that's like the blessing that I've been given, that's been handed to me. And Joe says I've got a knack for filming, so I guess I'm lucky to have filmed him right on that day one so that he didn't kick me off straight away. If I'd screwed up that first clip, he'd have been like, nah, I'm good.
So you'd not filmed before. That's the thing, is filming's not easy for a number of reasons. One, you've got to be like slightly natural at it. And two, I was going to ask you, the camera weight, is the camera, the P2, is that quite heavy? Because DSLRs are quite light. So it's even holding a DSLR, Janine, bless her cotton socks, in NASS last year was like, oh, it's so heavy because I had it rigged up with a light, it was a big heavy lens. So Janine was complaining about it being too heavy. What's the P2 like? Do you have a tripod for that one?
I have a tripod, but I can't really, you don't really want to use the tripod because you're going to have to like pan and zoom, and it's heavier than the DSLR. When I was filming Tommy and MK recently, I had my fisheye on the P2 cam, and filming a line with that was like a new level of I could really feel that I definitely needed some muscles on me, because doing that for 3 or 4 hours would be killer. Luckily he didn't take that long. It's heavy. It's heavier than I filmed fisheye on Joe's DSLR, and that doesn't feel too heavy to me now. But the P2 is hefty. It's like, big camera. I once had someone come up to me and be like, "Is this for the BBC?" And it was like one of the first days filming with the P2 camera, and I was like, "Damn, I look a lot more professional now." I think we can wing it. I think we can wing things a bit more now.
Well, that's the thing with, you've got two different ways. The thing with a DSLR is it looks like you're just a nobody taking photos. So if you've got like an A7S3 or even an S5 II, which is almost doing professional level cinema grade videography, and then a security guard or a policeman comes along from another country, then you can kind of be like, oh no, I'm just taking photos. Whereas if you've got a massive P2 or something, someone's going to be a bit more like, have you got a permit for that? Whereas on the other hand of that, if you do look professional, people are going to leave you alone. They're going to let you get on with it, you hope, and be less in. I find exactly,
like even not security or even just normal people are much more likely, if I have to say, oh, could you move out the way so that he can land here? They're much more. I think they take it much more seriously because it's more professional. Joe will get me to ask people as well, because apparently I'll be the one to go and ask someone to move or to or whatever, because he's like, oh, they'll get angry at me, but you've got a gentle face, or whatever Joe says about me. Like he says, everyone just tries to beat me. So he'll send me over to try and like quell the quell the storm or
I
whatever.
can I can understand that. Joe's got a mean, especially when he's concentrating at NASS when he was concentrating and making sure he's got his rundown. He's got a mean face.
It's weird. Like people do just want to be. Even when he's being nice to people, they turn on him, and I'm not used to it because people are so nice to me, and and something about Joe's face just makes people want to fight him. It's so strange.
I was going to mention that the fact that as well with a DSLR, it's lighter, but if you haven't got good stabilization, the image becomes a lot more wobbly. Whereas with a P2 with a depth lens on, it's heavy, so those cameras I believe don't have image stabilization built in. So the more heavy they are, the better they are for filming, these kind of like street lines and for mini ramp bowl, whatever it is. You've got a better steady cam because it's heavier unless you've got a DSLR rigged up. But the other end of that is if you've been filming for 12 hours in a day, you're basically doing a workout.
I mean, yeah, just have one massive right arm and one tiny little noodle left arm. No,
But
it's heavy. It's a workout, especially filming lines. It's completely different muscles to when you're skating is when you're filming. Obviously, it's not as intense as jumping down a 12 stair, but I'll film Joe for 2 hours, 3 hours, and then I'll be cold at the spot, and he'll be like, right, it's your turn to do the trick you wanted to do, and I've just been filming for like 2 or 3 hours, and I'm cold as anything, and I'm like doing ollies on flat in front of the handrail, just like trying to warm up, just to get my head in the game to jump on this rail. It's not easy for us filmers, and your clips always look bad when you're the filmer because someone else is filming it who can't film. So Joe will film my clip and he'll chop my whole head off, and chop my whole body out, and I'm like, why can't I film my own clips? I make you look so good.
so true. And weather's a huge one. I'm in Mexico at the moment, and it's 25 degrees. It's suddenly got mad hot in February. But that's another difference between the California scene and the British scene. And I remember that from the Blueprint days, they made a point of that, is you've got people doing lines in like scarves and beanies because of how cold it is. And I think someone who comes from a warm climate who's never been to a cold climate can understand how horrible it is and how much more difficult it is to skate, warm up, be sweaty and have like a really sweaty like inside t-shirt, but then have to have a wool jacket on because you're going to be cold underneath and be trying to
Yeah.
do street tricks or lines and it's damp and there's leaves everywhere.
It's a nightmare. And it's like a freezing, like when it's really cold, it's dry. It's weird, but like when it's like not too cold, it rains. But it's when it gets really cold in England, it stays dry. And so Joe's so excited to get out there and skate. It's like -1, -2. I don't want to sit there and film in -2, especially if we go to the skate park. I get a sweat on and then I've got to sit in my wet, sweaty clothes. I take change of clothes now because
And
I've
they're
learned the hard
cold.
way that you're just freezing cold. But yeah, warming up, the board hurts more when it hits you, or the floor hurts more when it hits you when you're cold.
Injuries. I was going to mention that. Like I destroyed my shoulder when I was 21, and ever since being 21 and having relocation surgery, every winter it's like someone's attached a different arm to me, and I'm like something out of the Wizard of Oz, needing a bit of oil.
I mean, I've got like my ankles just hurt all the time, but I think yeah, in the cold they hurt a lot more for sure.
The final question. Oh, there's two things I've missed out, and I've not gone into the opener, which I absolutely love. Trev's idea, but I absolutely love it. If you were at a bar and you're a beverage, let's hope a wine bottle, but if you're a beverage, what would you describe yourself as?
Any beverage,
Any beverage.
I don't know. I'm the kind of person who would have to sit and think about that for a long time. But a wine bottle, I mean, you take me back to being 17 and there was these £2 bottles of wine in the shop. I'd say that's me, the cheap stuff.
The
You
two
don't remember
pound.
anything.
I reckon. Dare I jump in? I reckon that you'd probably be one of the cheap wines at Lidl that still taste absolutely amazing because your filming is amazing.
Oh, okay. I'll take that. That sounds better than what I was thinking. I'll take that.
And then finally, which I can't believe I've messed this one up so badly, but finally, do you have any shout outs or just anything you'd just like to wrap this podcast up with?
Shout out to, my family and because they're all awesome and I love them and my girlfriend. Shout out to Vitor, but Matt who runs the brand because he's a super nice guy. And the grip, but my friend Amy who sends me grip. Big shout out to her. And anyone that has met me at the skate park, like you're all awesome, and I love skating with you. So yeah, and shout out Rob
Ah,
for the podcast and
and
for
Joe Hinson.
SkateWine and for the
Did you shout
entertainment.
out Joe Hinson?
But I hate you, Joe. You're not getting a shout out, Joe. Shout out Joe
Oh,
because he's obviously too much for me, and he's my good close friend. So
that's quality. I know that you being a filmer, I was going to be able to talk about cameras and editing and all that sort of good stuff. And you've got a good mic, so I'm really looking forward to how this comes out with the audio. But thank you ever so much, Charlie. It's been a really good hour and 10 minutes conversation.
well, thank
I
you.
I
I was
thoroughly
nervous, but
enjoyed
I've
it.
just
What's
I was
that?
nervous, but I've just chatted shit. So hopefully it's all right.
No, it was a
And
good chat.
it's just been super fun. Super enjoyed it. So thanks. I'm looking forward to the questions. If anyone's got any, then that'll be exciting. So
But yeah, thanks ever so
yeah,
much, Charlie.
just no, thank you. Like I don't feel like I'm a massive name or anything, but it's just super fun. This is the kind of thing that's quite fun to do. So I appreciate you giving me a chance to chat shit.
Right. Are you ready, Charlie?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
For the Q&A. If anyone's wondering why we're suddenly wearing different clothes, except that we've just realised that I'm not wearing different clothes, it's because I've had to slot in Charlie's Q&A later because I've done Amy Rams around the same time. So to get questions in, I've delayed it a day. Hence why we're in different clothes. Right. First question from the man himself, Joe Hinson. How do you put up
Or
with Hinson's bullshit whilst filming? I like he's asked a question about himself.
I don't. Um, no, I just got used to it. I'm a patient man. I'll put it like that. I'm a
Ah.
very patient filmer.
Uh, he also follows up with "Tell him I love him."
Oh,
That's
don't
very
love you.
nice.
Don't love you, Joe.
Dr. Trey's one's question: when did you first begin skateboarding? I think we did cover that already, but let's roll with that one.
Yeah, I could ride a board when I was a kid, but when I was 18, I sold my 3DS, bought a skateboard, and the rest is history. Got back into it properly.
Yeah, F computer games. Although I have just been spending the last half an hour looking at GPUs and computer games, so that's ironic. Liv Waters' response: why do you always say you're bad at skateboarding when you're not? Now, I have to say, and I have to cut in quickly, that I totally agree with this sentiment. When I was asking you about skateboarding, like, oh, I'm kind of average. Like, who could do heel flip board slides? Not many people.
Fair, but I skate with Joe all the time, and I skate with like these skaters who are at such a good level, and so I guess I compare myself to them. But yeah, I mean, I should stop. I should be less humble and appreciate what I can do. But that question comes from my girlfriend, so all the love to
Ah,
her. Thanks for outing me
uh,
for my my self-hate. I hate the way I skate. Like I really want to be better, but I feel like this the day you don't want to be better, you stop learning, you stop progressing. So it's the way it is.
I totally agree. And skating with someone like Joe Hinson, I was skating with Oscar Meza, name clang again, on Saturday, and he's obviously the Olympic skateboarder for Mexico. He's super good. Used to ride for Flip skateboards, now rides for Rip and Dip. And watching him skate, he did a 360 ollie blunt on the rail, and I filmed it. And I was like, right, I want to learn a new trick. I didn't manage to get it in the end, but I was trying to learn a new trick. And I think skateboarding with people who are like so superior to yourself definitely pushes your skateboarding ability.
Pushes you for sure, but also at times makes you feel like you're not able to do what you want to do. Like I was street skating
Inferior.
with Joe this weekend. We went to this little seven stair rail. He's like, yeah, I front feebled this when I was 12 or whatever he said. And I was there trying to skate it, really struggling to skate it. It was windy, the ground was, and I was losing my mind. I was like so mad. I was like, this should be easy and saying all this stupid stuff when really it's hard. Like skating's hard. I need to be more patient. Like he takes me to
Yes.
these he takes me to like 12 stair, 13 stair, 14 stair rails, and I'm like, I don't want to jump on this, but I do, but I don't, but I do. And it's just becomes a battle. So yeah, just want to be better. Just want to be the best I can be before I'm old and crippled.
That's it. I think it's
Won't be long.
hey, you're still younger than me. I think it's that battle between Skateboarding, it's like skateboarding for yourself and competing with yourself and not comparing yourself to others, but also being inspired by other skateboarding, basically. Famalam's response in your Instagram story about gifted haters fan base insulting you, you said whole entire so you done. Oh, that's a that's a gifted hater fanboy that's just come in that's come in and hijacked the Q&As.
Good thing we're not live.
Oh, I love that. I'm putting that in there. That's amazing. I can't. I was like, how is
I should ask you that, Rob. I should be asking you that.
I mean, I agree with
I'm not
him.
getting involved.
I agree with him. I'm just I'm just trolling, obviously. Obviously, the whole entire gifted hater fan base isn't an idiot, but I'm a troll. I'm a troll at heart where it comes to people like gifted hater. I can't believe that. I hadn't even read through these. You've heard it here first on the Wine Club. Next up, we've got Jake Powell's response. Thank God for someone normal and human. How do you put up with all of Joe's shit? You must have nerves of steel with a load of emojis. I don't know whether you can see that.
I love you, Jake. Yeah. Nerves of steel or just patience of a saint. I don't know. Same answer that I gave Joe. Like I've learnt to deal with him in my own way. But no, he's my mate at the end of the day and I love him. So I'm happy to he puts up with me as well. I'm not exactly easy in my own ways. So
that I think as well, like if he started to film you, he might start understanding how much patience you need as a filmer.
Oh my God, I'm worse than him. I lose it.
That
I
wasn't
feel like it's when I'm with Joe, it's just me and him. I know him so well, so I'm like,
that wasn't a dig at you.
letting
That was
my-
just
letting my
general.
energy out. Rob, that hurts. Stop it, please.
Skateboarding in general, like sometimes it takes ages to get tricks. Ailey's response. Aiiaei. That's a difficult one to say. What makes starbursts so juicy?
Who knows?
I'm not even sure that's.
I don't know. I don't know how to answer it.
I'm not even sure that's a legit question.
You have to ask Starburst. Maybe they like mince up like harvest fairy organs and fucking paste it or something. I don't know. You ask Starburst.
Ask
I
Starburst.
think that's my mate. Thank you.
That's a
Great
classic.
question.
These
Love
questions have been so entertaining. Liv Lativ's response. Have you ever seen Joe Hinson land a heel flip back lip?
No, I have not.
He needs
I
to
landed
learn
one of
it.
them the other day, and I don't want Joe to learn it because he'll land it in like 10 tries, and I'll be like, that took me like 5 hours. Cheers, Joe.
Can Joe heel flip though?
Joe's got a good heel flip. He says he
Oh.
doesn't, but he can hit bigger stuff than I can. He's got a good heel flip. He's got a good V heel, and if he wanted to, he could heel flip front board. I'm sure of it. But please don't encourage him. That's my trick. Let me have that one, Joe. Please.
I need to get back on the heel flips. That's a classic. Again, Liv Lativ's response. What's been your darkest moment filming Joe?
Darkest moment. I don't know. I have days where I'm really not in the mood and I'm like miserable. So there was one time we were out. I think we were in Kent, and I had like a mega migraine. I fell asleep in the back of the car on the way in between spots. I was like out cold in the back of the car, and they had to wake me up, drag me out the car to film. I was not having a good day that day. That was a dark one.
I mean, that was a question actually that I wanted to ask, and also another one that Liv Lativ's. I think it's meant to be Live and Let Live, but Liv Lativ's response. He's also asked, or she has also asked, Joe sacked himself on the feeble. I was meant to ask about this. Was your first thought you've been framed £200?
No. Oh my God, Joe would kill me if I let a clip go, especially a sack. Yeah, he broke his tailbone on this kink trail. I think that's the shit we're talking about. It was nasty. He was in pain. He drove home and he was like sitting on some peas, but like suspending himself in the car, and he still drove with the broken tailbone. He didn't trust me to drive his car. He wouldn't let me drive. So
that doesn't surprise me.
He sacked a rail the other day as well, but he ended up landing it, so he was chilling.
I've had a suspected fractured tailbone, and it's one of the most painful things because it's just an agony. It just doesn't stop. It's just pain, literally like pain in the ass. Oh wow, you've got a load
Yeah,
more
he
on
said
the wine club. Carry on,
he
sorry.
said it was the worst. No, 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 let's get through them. We got lots of questions. Let's do
You've
it.
got loads of questions. You might be up there contending with Ben Groves. From the wine club account, we've got Project 23 UK's question: how often do you f up a clip and have Joe? I think it's going to be has Joe raged at you?
When I started filming, I would fuck up clips every now and again, but Joe would never get angry. He'd just be like, "That's the way it is." Um, but now I would say I haven't fucked up a clip in a long time, and it's very rare now if I do make a mistake. Like when I'm filming a line, maybe I might chop his head a little bit here or there, but I don't film many lines of Joe. It's mostly just handrails. No, I don't really fuck clips anymore. But I used to, and Joe was always super patient, super chill. He knows what it's like. He knows I was learning, so he's never raged at me. He's raged at the trick. He's been like, I have to do this trick again, but he's not raging at me. He understands that that's what happens. If I was to delete a clip or lose a clip, then he'd rage at me. But I haven't yet, thank goodness. But yeah, no, he's good. He's good with me in that regard.
It's also interesting that he is a rail hammer guy, really. I mean, he can. I've seen him at NASS. He came third at NASS last year. He can put lines together for sure. He's definitely a rail hammer content guy, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, almost every clip I film is either long lens, which is so easy. I actually get bored. Like he'll be skating a massive rail and I'll be doing long lens, and I just get bored because I'm just stood there like I don't have to do a lot. So the actual filming part's boring, obviously. When he lands the trick, I'm stoked, but you do get a bit desensitized to it. So it's just like I was standing in the cold just for like 2 hours filming a long lens trick, and I was just kind of bored and cold, and you know. Whereas when I film a line, it's like I'm being challenged, so I'm a lot less
Yes.
bored in that way. But so a lot of people are like, I must be sick to film the hammers, and it is. But I've been a bit desensitized to it now, then I actually have more fun when I'm being challenged, when I'm trying to film a complicated line, when I can get a bit artsy with it, which doesn't happen often with Joe, to be fair. But he can film a mean line when he wants to. He
We're
just
gonna
doesn't
have to
want to a lot of the
push.
time.
We're gonna have to push for the Joe Hinson lines now.
Yeah.
It sounds like a
I'll get
narcotics
him
brand.
Joe Hinson line.
Moving along swiftly, Steam Jam's response: can you kickflip?
No. Yes, I can. In the game of skate, I'll land a kickflip like 1 out of 3, maybe. But I don't do them on anything. I don't do them up Euro gaps, down. No, I can't really kickflip. Can varial flip, can tray flip, can't kickflip. Can fakie flip. My fakie flip's better than my kickflip.
It's another trick.
Don't know
Well, it's
why.
another aspect of skating where you're either a kickflip person or a heel flip person.
I actually I was a kick flipper, and I wasn't very good at skating, but I was a kick flipper and I rolled my ankle so bad I couldn't flick on the board. Like it just hurt so bad. But I could heel flip, and that was like the moment I stopped kick flipping and started heel flipping because I physically couldn't kick flip. And so that day, that was probably like 4 or 5 years ago, and I've just been a heel flipper since then. Now my ankle doesn't hurt, but it doesn't flick. Like I have no flick strength, so I guess when I flick my heel, I flick it, but my toe, yeah, my kick flips are awful. I got the worst kick flip ever. I land it and it's like vertical, sideways, barely off the floor, and I'm happy. I'm like, yeah, kick flip, finally landed a kick flip.
Yeah,
Heel flips all.
I've never had a heel flip, but I had a mean kick flip in my early to mid 20s, probably early 20s before I destroyed myself.
Still got a
And
mean kick flip, bro.
I've lost it. I have no kick flip. It's so strange. I try and try.
I saw you do a nollie back heel or something, or was that nollie back flip? Kick flip?
That was me. That was probably me trying to learn a. Oh yeah, nollie backside flip. Yes. Yeah, but my switch flip's better than my kick flips now. That's what's annoying. I don't do kick flips anymore, and I need to practice my kick flips and my heel flips.
I need to practice. I need to learn switch flip. That's my goal. I'm gonna learn that one.
That was a question for Joe Hinson about the nollie flip. I was like, that's the one trick I've got over him. So he can't learn nollie flips and he can't learn heel flip lip slides. Street Jam.
I think he nollie flipped South Bank.
Oh really?
All right, let's see it. What's next?
Street Jam.
So. Might be nollie heel.
Oh, I haven't seen that. I have to get Joe to get that clip out. Another one from Steam Jam. What skate advice do you give to Joe Hinson which he consistently ignores? These
Joe
questions
ignores
are
all my
epic.
advice. Joe never listens to my advice. And the thing is, I'll give him a piece of advice, normally to do with the Instagram, or you should do this, you should do that. And then 6 months later, he'll get told it by either back when he
Jamie
was on
Thomas.
Darkstar, the Darkstar TM.
Yeah.
Or Jamie Thomas will turn and he'll be like, yeah, Jamie's told me to start posting more reels. And it wasn't that. And I'm like, yeah, I told you that a year ago, and you just ignored me. I'm like, great, cheers, Joe. No, I don't give him skating advice. I ask him for skating advice, and half the time the answer is just go fast and commit. So that's what you get with Joe.
I love that you've
No,
gone
no
from
advice.
skating advice to social media advice.
Yeah, that's the advice I'll give him, because he's always talking about stuff like that. We're discussing stuff like that a lot of the time in the car, 2 hours to the spot. So that's where I give him advice, and he never takes it, but it's fine.
He totally just shuts off the car journey that you've just had. I think this is the final question. And again, it's from Steam Jam.
Hey.
Do you have a job besides your dedication to skating and filming? I'd like to add dedication to Joe Hinson, really, at the end of this.
On and off, I've had many, but nothing really sticks. And I've just moved, so I'm looking for a new part-time just to tide me over. But not really. I want to do video editing. I've dabbled in this, dabbled in that, made some money busking in the past, and yeah, just bits and bobs. Gardening, mainly gardening jobs. I used to do a lot of them. Helping people out. So if anyone's got any work for me, please. I'm desperate. I'm so poor.
It's turned into a Charlie Bach job advert.
Yeah. If you want my CV, email me, message me, contact me. But no, love that. Thanks for the questions from everyone there. Some of my mates, Sarah. Good to hear from you all.
You're doing my bit. I was just about to say that. I was about to say thanks everyone for sending in the questions. I'll pass you over
Legend.
to Charlie.
I appreciate it. Well done, everyone. This has been the SkateWine podcast. I'll just do the outro for you. Shout out Gifted Hater.
Oh, no mammies. Well, thanks, Charlie, for those for answering those questions. I am now going to switch to the listener. I'm now going to switch back to the past of the outro that we did have, which will run hopefully now. Wow, I hope you liked the back in. That was Trev Johnson's always having a go at me because I look like I'm in my nan's house. It's not my nan's house, and this is now my skateboard aesthetic, which I hope everyone enjoyed. Thank you ever so much, Charlie Bach. That was a really good conversation. If you haven't already, please click on the old subscribe buttons. I believe there is on Spotify, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts. Thanks to Charlie Bach. That was a really good episode 9 of The Wine Club. Thanks for listening. Give us a review. Peace and love. The Wine Club.
Who you guys working for?
Who is this? It's SkateWine.
Oh, beautiful. Did you say SkateWine?
Yes, sir.